because I think we're going to run it, essentially, as you know, based on our conversation at the sidebar, that witness now is going to be pushed till tomorrow, Mr. Reset. So I don't expect we're going to take all afternoon for Trooper Dumont. In fact, I don't know that it's going to be that long yet.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we had understood that Bradley was being brought in today to talk to his lawyer, and that we were going to do examinations of him tomorrow. I'm not prepared to do a voir dire or questioning of Bradley today.
Okay, I just raised it because he was brought in today, the lawyer has spoken to him, and so he would be available if...
Right, but yesterday, I remember it was stated we wouldn't do an examination until Wednesday, so if Mr. Rankin is saying he's not prepared, I'm not going to force it. Who else is there besides Bradley and Mr. Dumont?
For today, Your Honor?
No, I mean, how many, what's the sort of schedule?
Essentially, if tomorrow was a half day, I think we would probably finish.
Okay, so will there be a medical examiner?
Yes, there is, Your Honor, and he's scheduled for tomorrow, but depending upon how things go now, because of Mr. Reset,
maybe more sense Thursday.
Thursday, correct.
And is that it? Are there any authentication people on the recordings? Are you still trying to get in any recordings?
We're still trying to resolve that, Your Honor. As you know, it's a little bit, it's thinned down, so we haven't finally decided on that.
Okay.
But I don't think it's going to be, to answer your question, Thursday would be, I suspect, to be the day.
Okay.
Your Honor, if I could address the court on scheduling as well.
But before we get to, you're talking about, is your scheduling dealing with the defense?
Yes, sure.
Before we get to that, I was just,
Sure.
we may, tomorrow is a early sort of 1 o'clock stopping. I don't know how long Bradley's will go. It may make sense that the jury come in 9:30 instead of, they're usually very here promptly, so they're always here by 8:30. I don't want them waiting, sitting for a long time. So I might have them come in at 9:30 so we can do the voir dire first thing in the morning. And then you had...
Yes, sure. Your Honor, it says that the Commonwealth is likely to rest on Thursday. Friday, of course, is a half day. I guess my suggestion, and I have at least one witness, Your Honor, who's coming from Texas, the Cellmark witness. I guess my suggestion, Your Honor, is that we do the Rule 25 argument on Friday, if the court will hear us. We intend to file a written motion when the Commonwealth rests, and that we do a charge conference if the jury will file written requests for instructions by Thursday. If the court could do that on Friday, if that's convenient to the court, and then we would bring in our witnesses on Monday. Logistically, that would be a lot easier for us. I don't want to have a witness get over the weekend from that time.
and then, would you anticipate being beyond Monday?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you. Let's bring the jurors back.
We did speak over the break, and I wonder if we could go for just a little bit. There's certain things I have to clean up over the lunch hour off of those slides. So if we could maybe go 15 minutes and then have an early lunch.
Sure. Just indicate when you're ready for,
okay, thank you.
For a break. So tomorrow morning, first thing, we'll do the Bradley voir dire. And today, after Dumont, there are no other witnesses after Dumont today, right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And Thursday. Okay. Thank you. Let's bring the juries back in.
call Trooper Christopher Dumont, please.
Please face the clerk and raise your right hand.
You swear your testimony will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
You may proceed.
Thank you. Sir, state your full name
Christopher Dumont,
and spell your last name, please.
D-U-M-O-N-T.
Do you work?
I do.
Where do you work?
I'm assigned as a state trooper with the Massachusetts State Police
Okay, how are you currently assigned?
to the Bristol County District Attorney's Office.
Okay, is that the detective unit?
That's correct.
How long have you been in that unit?
Been in that unit approximately 8 years, 8 to 9 years.
And how long have you been a Massachusetts State Trooper?
With the Massachusetts State Police, 10 years.
Okay. Prior to that, did you work somewhere else?
I worked for approximately 6 years for the New Bedford Police Department.
Okay. Now, I'd just like to direct your attention to the investigation of the homicide of Odin Lloyd. Were you involved in that?
Yes.
And at what point did you become involved in that?
On June 19th, 2013.
Okay. And on that date, were you assigned particular tasks?
Yes, I was.
And what tasks were you assigned?
I was assigned to go to the Boston area, particularly Faiston Street.
Okay. And what was your purpose in going to that area of Faiston Street?
It was explained to me that there was video surveillance on Faiston Street, particularly at the area of number 10 Faiston Street, and my task was to determine available routes of travel of a silver Nissan Altima that had been seen leaving that location on June 17th.
Okay. And in furtherance of that assignment, just tell us, what did you do?
Knowing that the vehicle had left that location and ultimately
I'm going to object to the commentary. Sustained answer of what he did.
Let me just ask you this. Did you go to Faiston Street?
I did.
And are you familiar with an address of 10 Faiston Street?
I am.
And at 10 Faiston Street, do you know where 9 Faiston Street is?
I do.
And where is that in relation to 10?
Roughly directly across the street.
Okay. And was there certain video surveillance that was recovered from 9 Faiston Street?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have occasion to view some of that surveillance footage?
At a later date.
Okay. And as a result of your assignment, did you go to the area of Faiston Street and Blue Hill Avenue?
I did.
And in terms of that location, are you familiar with Quincy Street?
I am.
And how far is that from the intersection of Faiston Street and Blue Hill Avenue?
1 block.
Okay. And is Faiston Street one-way or two-way?
Is one way west.
Okay. And as you come one way west, which way is Quincy? Is it right or left?
You would take a right going north.
Okay. Did you go to that intersection of Quincy and Blue Hill Avenue?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And when you did that, did you make any observations of whether there's any surveillance in that area?
I did.
Okay. Excuse me. And where is the surveillance in that area?
I noted a camera mounted on top of a traffic signal arm that holds the traffic lights up. I also noticed cameras at a Citgo gas station right on the corner, actually in between those 2 streets on the block.
Okay. And did you make efforts to recover any surveillance relating to a particular date and time from those locations?
Yes.
Okay. And what date and time were you focused on?
Focusing on from 2:33 in the morning on the 17th of June, moving forward from there.
Okay. And you said there was a Citgo station?
Yes.
And were you able to recover any surveillance from that location?
I was able to view a monitor inside the gas station that did show me some footage from that evening.
Okay. And just in terms of the quality of what you were able to view, just describe that.
It was very poor. The nighttime image was very poor and grainy.
Okay. So to the extent that you were able to see anything, what could you see?
I could see that vehicles were passing by.
Okay, in terms of vehicles, could you see what types of vehicles, just lights or?
I could make out the types of vehicles, but as in a sedan or an SUV, but not particularly what kind of vehicle it was.
Okay. So with regard to the intersection of Quincy and Blue Hill Avenue, were you, did you contact anyone in regards to any surveillance video from that location?
Yes.
And who did you contact?
I spoke with Sergeant Detective Michael Stratton of the
Okay.
Boston Police.
Okay. And as a result of that, did you later recover certain surveillance from Detective Michael Stratton?
Yes.
Okay. Now, just in terms of your involvement, where did you go from Quincy and Blue Hill Avenue?
Based on,
Okay,
Objection sustained. Question simply, where did you go?
right. Not anything about what anyone told you.
I went north on Blue Hill Avenue
Okay.
from Quincy.
And when you went north on Blue Hill Avenue, did you find any other locations that had potentially surveillance video?
Yes.
And what other locations were you able to recover video?
There's many locations that we observed, particularly other city cameras and also private establishments.
Okay. Where was the next city camera that you observed?
It was over at Blue Hill Avenue and West Cottage Street.
Okay. And did you make efforts to recover that video?
Yes,
Okay. Did you later have an opportunity to look at that video?
we did.
Okay. And did that assist in any way? Were you able to see anything?
It was not a value.
Okay. Now, what about, if there were any private locations that you also made efforts to recover video?
Right. There were several private locations that we made contact with. Some had no,
Well, you're using "we," you've been asked about you, so if you could testify as to what you did, not what someone else may have done.
Was somebody else with you, sir? When you
on
say
some
we-
occasions there were, but particularly on that date, it was myself that was looking for cameras.
Okay, so again, if you just refine your answers to what you did. So these other private locations, were you able to recover other video?
Yes.
And was some of it just not of any value?
There were some not of any value out of range of the street.
Okay, in terms of where some of these cameras pointed, do you know what portions of the street, if any, they even covered?
Closer to the sidewalk, not the actual roadway.
I see. So at some point after the Blue Hill Avenue and Cottage, West Cottage, did you also make observations of a city camera in the area of Blue Hill and Dudley?
Yes.
And what action did you take as a result of that?
I asked Sergeant Detective Stratton to check that camera.
Okay. And at some time later, was that provided to you?
It was.
And were you able to make observations of that footage?
Yes.
In terms of the time frame that you were looking for, were you able to note any vehicles that were of interest to you?
Yes.
And what vehicle were you looking for?
A Nissan Altima.
Okay, and were you able to see a Nissan Altima in any of the footage around the times that you were looking at?
Yes.
Okay. Approximately what times? If you can recall.
At Blue Hill and Dudley, several minutes after the 2:33, so approximately 2:37, 2:38.
Okay. Now, were you also assigned a task, in addition to recovering surveillance, to make certain determinations of routes of travel?
Yes.
And did that include the routes that you would be able to travel between different points?
That's correct.
And would you take either measurements by time or distance between those points?
Yes.
Okay. Now, at some point, did you begin at 10 Faiston Street?
Yes.
And from there, where did you drive, sir?
Drove west on Faiston Street and took a right going north on Blue Hill Avenue.
Okay, and that distance from 10 Faiston Street to Blue Hill, to taking a right on Blue Hill, is approximately how far?
A couple 100 feet, 300 feet.
Okay. And then from there, excuse me, from there, where did you drive to?
I continued north on Blue Hill Avenue through the intersection with Quincy.
Okay. And again, was that one of the areas that you had noted there was some surveillance?
That's correct.
Okay. After passing through there, did you continue to a location of Blue Hill Avenue and Dudley Street?
Yes.
And was that also a location that you would later recover surveillance?
Yes.
Okay. Where is the next point after that that you were able to recover surveillance video?
There was surveillance video recovered from the Casa Esperanza building on Hamden Street.
Okay. And then Hamden Street, where is that located in, are you familiar with the Melenas Cass Boulevard?
No, near Cass Boulevard.
Yes. How close is that, Hamden Street?
Hamden connects into Melnia Cass, so it's several blocks away.
Okay. Did you drive to, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, Melena Cass?
Melnia Cass Boulevard.
Melena Cass. And from that location, did you then, where did you go at that intersection of Hamden and Melenas Cass?
So I turned right on Melnia Cass Boulevard and drove towards Massachusetts Avenue.
Okay. In Massachusetts Avenue, just what area of the city is that located in?
Roxbury.
Okay. At some point, are you familiar with the Mass Connector?
Yes, I am.
Did you travel towards the Mass Connector?
Yes.
Okay. Now, just going back from 10 Facein Street, can you describe all the roads that you took to get to the Mass Connector?
So from 10 Facein Street, I went west on Facein Street, took a right onto Blue Hill Avenue going north. I then took a right onto Moreland Street, which is going east. Took a left onto Dennis Street going north. At the intersection of Dennis and Dudley, I took a left going west. Through the intersection, on Dudley going west, went through the intersection where Blue Hill Avenue starts. Took a right onto Hampton Street, going towards Melnia Cass Boulevard. Took a right on Melnia Cass Boulevard, going east, crossed over Massachusetts Avenue onto the Mass Ave connector.
Okay. And with regard to that route that you traveled, had you recovered surveillance along that route and had an occasion to view it to determine whether there was a silver Nissan Altima showing in any of the surveillance?
Yes.
Okay. That route, was that generally a direct route to get to the Mass Connector?
No.
Okay. How far out of the way would, or how indirect was it to get between those 2 points, 10 Facein and the Mass Connector?
Coming off of to be direct, you would stay on Blue Hill Avenue going towards Dudley Street rather than taking that right that would have brought you down to Dennis Street and then using Dennis to go to Dudley. So that was coming off the main road.
Okay. How far would you say it was a detour off the main road?
2 blocks down off of Blue Hill Avenue.
Okay.
And then you had to do the 2 blocks back to Blue Hill Avenue, so it was several blocks off the route.
And how much driving time did that add to what would have been a more direct route?
It may have added a minute.
Okay. Did you clock the distance between 10 Facein Street and getting to the Mass Connector?
Yes.
And approximately how long did it take you to drive?
That was approximately 7 to 8 minutes.
Okay. And what time of day or night were you driving?
On one of the occasions, it was evening,
Okay. How many occasions did you drive that route?
at least twice.
Okay. And when you were driving in the evening, what were the traffic conditions at that time?
Traffic's much heavier.
Okay. And did you drive it at a lighter time, when traffic was lighter?
Yes.
Okay. Now, so 7 or 8 minutes to the Mass Connector. Where did you go from the Mass Connector?
From the Mass Connector, I continued east over the overpass for Route 93, where I meet Frontage Road, which is has a traffic signal. Took a left onto Frontage Road, followed that roadway down towards the on-ramp to Route 90 West, which is also the Mass Turnpike.
Okay. And were you able to make observations of any surveillance cameras along that stretch from Frontage Road now to the Mass Pike?
Yes.
And tell us about those locations. How many cameras did you observe?
I observed several cameras, probably 6, 7, or 8 cameras
Okay.
in total.
As a result of making those observations, did you contact anyone in an effort to gather potential surveillance?
Yes.
And who did you, excuse me, who did you contact?
I contacted first the Mass Department of Transportation.
Okay. And were you able ultimately to recover surveillance from any of those cameras?
Yes.
How many cameras actually recorded?
There were approximately 7 that had usable recorded images.
Okay. And after recovering those, did you have an opportunity to look, to view the surveillance for a time frame in between 2:33 in the morning and 3 a.m.?
Yes.
And based on the time that you had traveled from Fayston Street to that area where these cameras began, did you add that time to the 2:33?
Yes.
Okay, and how much time did you add?
It's from Fayston Street to the entrance to the 90 West ramp. It was 10 minutes.
Okay, so at approximately then the 7 or 8 minutes, I think you indicated, to get to the Mass Connector,
Correct.
did you then look at the video in the time frame of 2:40, approximately 2:40 a.m.?
Yes.
And were you able to observe any vehicles that appeared to be similar to a silver Nissan Altima?
Yes.
Now, from camera to camera, were you able to track a particular vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. And ultimately, were you able to determine from the cameras what route of travel that Nissan Altima went?
I was.
And where did it go?
It went on to Route 90 West, the Mass Turnpike.
Okay. Now, you indicated it was approximately 10 minutes from Fayston Street to the Mass Pike.
That's correct?
Did you at some point actually travel the Mass Pike yourself?
Yes.
And which direction did you travel?
Westbound
And how far did you take it westbound?
to the Weston Toll
And-
Booth Plaza.
Okay, and how long did it take you from when you got on to the Mass Pike to get to the Weston toll booth?
That was also 10 minutes.
Okay, so your total time of travel now from 10 Fayston Street to the Weston toll booth was what time?
Approximately 20 minutes.
Okay, so having, at some point, did you travel at approximately 2:33 in the morning from Fayston Street?
Yes, I did.
And when you traveled at 2:33 Fayston Street, did you go that same direction of travel you've described to get to the Weston toll?
Yes, I did.
And what time did you arrive at the Weston toll?
At approximately 2:53.
Okay, and approximately what speeds were you traveling in the course of going from 10 Fayston to the Weston toll to make it there in 20 minutes at 2:53 a.m.?
For the highway portion, approximately 70 to 75 miles an hour in that 55-mile zone.
Okay, and with regard to just other traffic, you said that it's posted as 55?
That's correct.
Just in terms of the flow of traffic, what speeds were you traveling with regard to other traffic?
I would say we're generally going with the flow of traffic, however, we were being passed quite often at the 70 to 75 miles an hour.
Okay. Now, tell us what you do when you get to the Weston toll.
So at the Weston toll, I went through toll lane number 3 and continued on to Route 128 south.
Okay, once you get onto Route 128 South, where are you heading?
Heading south towards the North Attleboro area.
Okay, and when you travel 128 South, how long did you stay on that route?
I stayed on that road till the ramp for 95 south.
And once you arrived there, how much time had passed from the time you had arrived at the Weston toll to when you left 128 South?
It's approximately 10 minutes.
Okay, so your total time of travel at this time is what?
Approximately 30 minutes from Fayston Street.
Okay, so having left at 2:33 in the morning, approximately what time would it be?
It would be about 3:03 in the morning, approximately.
Okay, and then from that location, which is at the intersection of 128 and 95, did you head south?
Yes, I did.
And that is towards, what's the major city going south?
Attleboro.
Okay. And did you drive towards North Attleboro?
Yes.
How long did it take you from that location to get to approximately North Attleboro, Route 152?
That was approximately 15 minutes.
Okay. And so, at this time, did you take an exit in North Attleboro?
Yes.
And what exit did you take?
Exit 5 to Toner Boulevard.
And during the time that now you were traveling on 128 and Route 95, what speeds were you traveling?
On that stretch, about the same speed, 70, 75 miles an hour.
Okay. Now, when you arrive at...
It's 1 o'clock, we're going to take a stop at this time for lunch recess. Please, if you don't mind, don't discuss the case among yourselves within minutes.
All rise, the jury, please.